Hi guys, this is Mitz. In today's video we're going to cover tramming our Onefinity and laying out a grid line on our Spoilboard. So let's get started. In our previous video with regards to surfacing the Spoilboard, we used an offset strategy and ran that in a square pattern. So it starts in the center and works its way out. And the reason for that being is that the line directions or the steps will give you an indication of the direction of tilt for your router. So if we have the top of the machine surfacing and you get this particular pattern, we know that we have to add a shim in behind the Z-slide on the lower section of the Z-slide. If we have the inverse pattern, then what we need to do is shim the top of the router behind the Z-slide in a counterclockwise direction so that it will tram properly. Then we have the left side of the machine. If you give this pattern on the left side of the machine, then we have to tilt in a clockwise direction. And then conversely, if we have the opposite pattern, then we have to rotate or tilt the router in a counterclockwise direction. So that will kind of give you an idea of which directions you need to go. Okay, so off camera, I loosened the router mounting bracket bolts, and then I've loosened the Z-slider bolts. There's 4 of them there. And now what we'll do is we'll prepare to tram the left to right on our router, our Onefinity. And what we'll do here is lower the bracket, and you could use a piece of wood if it's nice and square, or you could use 1, 2, 3 blocks. Either way works. And what we'll do is we'll come back and validate it a little bit later. But this will get us pretty darn close, if not dead nuts on. So what we'll do here is we'll just lower this a little bit more, slow the speed down, and we will lock that in. And okay, so now it's locked in, and what we'll do here is now tighten up these bolts. We'll start with the 2 on the top. And then we'll move to the bottom to get the rest of them, the other 2 bolts tightened up. Okay, those are nice and snug, and we will get this side tightened up a little bit more. There we go. All right. So now that we've got the top locked down, we will tighten up the bottom bolts. Okay, so let's go ahead and get that part done. And now we'll just snug them down. Okay, so now those are snugged up. And what we'll do next is put the router back in. You got to lower it almost down to the bottom to get that go in. Okay, so now we can snug these up.
And almost done.
Okay, so now that we've got that done, we can go ahead and raise this back up. And we'll be back in just a second. So I built this tramming tool, basically just a 14-inch piece of wood, and I've got a 1/4-inch old bits on here that I've located and tightened in place, and we'll just double check now to make sure that we're as accurate as we can be. All right, so we're gonna lower this down until it just hits, so it just hits the top side here. Okay. And, all right, so that looks pretty good right there in terms of hitting the top part of the boards, and we're just going to check the front to back, and that looks good, and that looks good. So now that we've got this trammed, we can go ahead and lay down our grid line, and this project will be complete. Okay, so I've loaded the Spoilboard grid vertical line file into the controller, and now we're going to set our zeros. So from the Spoilboard surfacing file, we know that we can find the center by going to the center of the cutting area, which is going to be G00 X 16.063 Y 16.063. Okay, that should be listed there. G00 16.063 Y 16.063. I'll hit the button now. Okay, so it's made it exactly in the center of the cutting area. Okay, so we'll come up here and we'll zero the X, zero the Y, and then we'll take our probe and zero Z. And okay, we'll come back here and probe for Z. We'll tap the unit, turns green. We'll hit continue. Okay, and that looks like it's all done there. So we will take the probe off and we'll put the probe away. Okay, so everything's green now for the tool path. We will get started and cut this here in just a second. So we're just going to hit this with a little bit of 320 grit sandpaper so that it takes off any of the raised surfaces that you will get in MDF. And it helps you align your project a lot better so that you're not going off the grid, if you will. So that's pretty much it for today. We'll catch you on the next one. Hope you have a great day.